Does anyone remember the old Disney show called Kick Buttowski? A suburban daredevil? Well, if you haven't already, it's about this young boy named Kick Buttowski. Yes, that's his actual name, who likes to do many stunts. Either it could be somewhere else or in his neighborhood. He's also accompanied by a young boy named Gunfer, who is always there to try to help him. I was a huge fan of the series, and I always watched the episodes on the regular basis until the incident. When I was getting home from after a dinner at a Chinese restaurant, I turned on the TV to find out that the channel was the Disney Channel. I had watched some episodes about the new reboot of DuckTales, and some episodes of Big City Greens. When I was about to go to bed, a promotional bumper for Kick Borowski appeared and said, "Are you ready to experience some great stunts? Well, you're about to experience the exclusive remaster of Faceplant." I was hyped up when I first saw this, so I stayed up to see it. There was an episode of Raven's Home playing it, and when it ended, there was the theme song, and nothing out of the ordinary happened until the episode played. The episode, like the bumper said, was indeed Faceplant. The episode started off normally, but when it got near to the end of the episode, where Kick was about to get the button, but Brick Burstow, the host of the show, snatches it the last minute, that's where the episode took a dark turn. When Bristow refused to let Kick win, after Kick numerously attempted to beat the obstacle course, Bristow immediately steps in one of the obstacles on the course, causing him to endlessly get beaten up by his own obstacle course creation. When Bristow then fell to the ground with his face covered on screen, blood stains were visible on the scene. I noticed this and was surprised to see that. At the end, where Kick gets the giant paycheck for being the faceplant, but the paycheck was confiscated by someone from Ronald's family to pay for Ronaldo's hospital bill. The episode didn't immediately end there. The next day, the time title card appeared on the screen where Kick woke up and Kick's sister told him to come down and watch the news. Believe it or not, Kick's whole family was sitting in the living room watching the news. When Kick got to the couch and sat there, not knowing what was going on, the news said that Brick Bristow had suffered severe injuries after stumbling upon his own obstacle course of Faceplant. He was then sent to Mellowbrook Hospital yesterday, and when the doctors went to check on him today, he was pronounced dead. Kick was immediately shocked by this. Even his family was shocked to find this. Even I was shocked. Then the show never tackled a subject related to death, but this was something else. Kick's dad, Harold, asked Kick if he knew this guy, and Kick answered with yes, and Kick immediately told his family on how he witnessed everything to his whole entire family. Pretty soon, after Kick told the story, his dad immediately went to the phone and possibly to call someone. The news crew then arrived at the scene, where they began hoarding around Kick, wanting some possible answers. Kick then told everyone that he was just wanting to win the faceplant, but the host was being a jerk by not letting him Kick win. Then the news crew then left, knowing the details of the incident. The episode then cuts to black, and what happened appeared on screen made me cry my eyes out. It was just an empty graveyard. In the rain and sitting, the camera slowly pans to a hammer-shaped grave where the tombstone said Bristow. Then there was sad music during this, and I just couldn't hold back the tears. The episode ended with the usual credits, but I was practically crying on the pillow. The episode was so sad, I ended up crying myself to sleep that same night. I had a nightmare when I was in the same graveyard like in the episode, where now a zombified Brick Bristol rose up from the ground and chased me to the same set where Faceplant was. I began dodging all the obstacles like a madman, and then hoping that the zombie Brick Bristol would die from the obstacles. Well, it turns out that the zombie Bristol was invincible, and he was actually chasing me. I pressed the button like it did in the obstacle course, and the zombie Bristol then disintegrated into dust. I sighed in relief, but if I was to sent in the dark room where a bunch of zombified Brick Bristols were surrounding me, the zombies began tearing me to shreds, and I woke up screaming. It was around 4 a.m. when I woke up, and I stayed up for the rest of the night. It was a horrible night for me and that episode that traumatized me for the rest of my life. I ended up burning out all of my Kick Borowski merchandise, and that was that. If you ever find this episode playing on TV, do not watch it at all costs. If this episode ever shows up on your TV, turn to another channel. Get help immediately. I hope no one ever experiences this episode. And that, my little pretties, was Kick Borowski, lost alternative episode called Faceplant, a Kick Borowski lost episode creepypasta. Written by Affan Jamsari. My final thoughts on this story? Okay, I'm gonna be 100% honest that upon taking a look at this story, I'm gonna be 100% honest. This story was, not that great. Like, I mean, I'm being completely honest when it comes to this story. I wasn't really a great, story. Like, I mean, no, it wasn't terrible or anything. I mean, well, the grammar was okay for what it is, and the sentence structuring seemed to be okay and all that. But the fact about the story of its own self was just okay. Like, I mean, there's a couple problems that I have with this story that I really need to, be honest. The grammar was okay. It does need to be, revised because I did spot a few lowercase i's and I did spot a couple grammatical errors. The sentence structure was alright for what it is too. I did spot, however, some run-on sentences. Like, I mean, there were places that should have been periods, places that should have been commas, or they weren't there. So the story was a bit difficult for me to read at certain parts. So that's another thing I want to, state that, like, there was a couple run-on sentences in the story. I mean, there wasn't like a whole lot or anything. There was just like a couple of run-on sentences. But yeah, if those were fixed into Google Docs, then yeah, the story would have been more readable and it would have been easier for me to read. Now, one thing I would have to say is that the story was not a terrible story. I mean, it didn't go, hyperrealistic blood or hyperrealistic gore or anything like that. Thank God that this episode did not take that route because, let's be honest, people, I really don't like the fact when hyperrealistic blood or gore has been taken, in, certain creepypastas. I mean, it doesn't really, add up or something. Unless unless it's really well written. Then that's one thing I would have to say. I mean, one thing I could definitely say that the story was not terrible or anything, but I would have to say that it does need to be fixed. Like fixed up per se. Like maybe I'm missing something or maybe there's something I'm missing here. I don't really know entirely, but this story actually did have somewhat of a potential to make it, decent and all that, but I mean, it's not terrible or anything, but it does need to be fixed up. I mean, the grammar of this story was okay, like I said. The storyline, having it be an alternative episode, I mean, it's cliched when it, appears on TV. Like, many other creepypastas have sat there and done that. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of creepypastas have sat there and done that. Like, how many creepypastas do that? A lot of creepypastas manage to sit there and do that. I mean, it's cliched at the certain parts. I mean, at least it didn't go 1 to 100 with, a bunch of cliches like most of the other stories by Affan Jamsari I've read, but this one, I mean, this one didn't really go, cliche crazy and all that. Well, except for the one cliche used at the beginning where, you discover the episode on TV. Because I'm going to be honest, a lot of other creepypastas have sat there and done that. So that's definitely me saying something. So, I mean, this story was not terrible. It does need to be fixed up and revised. That's something I'm definitely saying now. It does need to be revised, but other than that, the story was not a terrible one. It does need to be fixed up, however, so yeah, that's something I'm definitely going to be 100% honest. The story was not terrible, though. I mean, yeah, the story needs to be fixed up, but other than that, this story was okay. I'm okay with this story. I didn't really see, it being a big flop, but it does need to be fixed and revised. That is something I'm definitely saying that now. But anyways, This is not really a long review because I haven't read any of Affan Jamsari's stories in like a long ass time. Like I think the last time I did it was like maybe last month or something, or maybe it might have been maybe earlier this month. I don't remember. So, yeah, that's something I want to state. Other than that, I'm going to sit here and say the story was all right. Not a fan of it, but it was okay. But I would suggest, fix up the grammatical errors and the sentence structuring a bit. I mean, the paragraph structuring is really good. I'm not going to deny that too. So, anyways, with that being the case, that being said, I'm going to sit here and, wrap up this review. If I'm missing something, what was wrong with the story, feel free to leave me now with your thoughts in the comments below because I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this story. Anyways, what did you guys? Oh yeah, like I'm gonna say, this is simply my own personal opinion. If you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of the story would have to be a 6 out of 10. I've given it a 6 because it was a decently well made story, but it wasn't terrible. It was an okay story. It does need to be fixed and revised, but other than that, the story was not terrible. That, I'm definitely saying that now. So, I guess with that being the case, that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you're new to my channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.